All right, welcome back to our lessons on translation. I'm Professor Jolly. In this lesson, we're going to give an overview of the strategizing step and the five-step translation model that we've been discussing in this class. So, strategizing, as you can see on this slide, has to do with determining what equivalence orientation should be prioritized and thinking about which translation approach is going to result in a most effective translation. So let's continue. So I just covered this. It's step 3 in our 5-step model. After we interpret the source text, we analyze those factors that are contributing to its meaning. Then we spend some time thinking about, okay, if this translation is going to be effective, what types of equivalency or correspondence am I going to prioritize? And which translation approach is probably going to be the best? So that's where it fits in our 5-step model. Going back to the visual model, this Mildred Larson's meaning-centered model of translation that I like to use, if you look at her model, it's not there. So we're just going to go ahead and add it in, right? So once we've interpreted the source text and thought a little bit about, done an analysis, what are those factors that are contributing to that meaning, I recommend pausing and inserting this strategizing step before we get into translation proper or the reformulation step. So that's where it would fit. Right after we've determined the meaning and before we actually start working on our translation. So again, this is going to be a little bit repetitive, a little bit redundant. I've already mentioned these things, but bear with me. So strategizing in the translation process. So again, once we've determined what the source text means, the interpretation step, and thought about what contextual or extra-linguistic and textual or linguistic words on the page factors help to create that meaning, that's the analysis. Strategizing is the next step, and that involves thinking about what kinds of equivalents should be prioritized. Those are those equivalence orientations. We'll talk about those in the next video. And also, the second sort of step in this strategizing model is to think about what kind of translation approach should be adopted, or which approach is going to result in a truly effective translation when we reflect upon that. Okay? Or which approach will a truly effective translation reflect is what I really wanted to say. I hope that makes more sense. So the next two videos that relate to strategizing are going to focus on the equivalence orientations, the 3 main equivalence orientations, and 2 or 3 or more possible translation approaches.